Hi, I'm Grace, and welcome to Coffee and CHIKAHAN by the Entrepreneurs. The Entrepreneurs is a female-led Filipino food and cultural advocacy group based in Melbourne, who volunteer our skills in business, design, storytelling, community building, and hospitality to promote and build representation of Filipino cuisine and culture. And so the purpose of Coffee and CHIKAHAN is to build community through conversation to connect, to engage, and uplift at the time of Corona. And it's real talk with real people as we navigate together a life interrupted by this pandemic. So tonight, we are so thankful to be able to connect some amazing women of color, of Filipinas, here from Sydney and Manila, Miss Victoria Garcia and Mariel Garcia. Whilst not related, they share a commonality and connection that stems from their talents. And during this episode of Coffee and CHIKAHAN, we'll discuss their advocacy and artistry efforts at the time of Corona.
Amazing. Welcome, Victoria and Mariel.
Hey.
In your introduction, we might get you to introduce yourself. If you can include an icebreaker, so introduce yourself, who you are and what you do, as well as your answer to the following question. If you were catching up at your favorite cafe or eatery, where would that be and what would you be ordering? So we might start with you, Victoria.
Okay. I'm Victoria. I'm an artist, illustrator, and textile designer. I've worked in fashion and film for the last decade, and I also maintain my own visual arts practice. And if I was to eat at, so it's any cafe?
Oh, it could be a restaurant, it could be a turo place, whatever you feel you want to go eat.
Your favorite? Well, like, you know, is there a spot that you love going to?
Oh, that's so hard.
The choice over there, right?
Okay, I'm going to keep it true to my suburb. There's a cafe in Ashfield that I really love, and I go there all the time. It's called Koku Culture.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
They do fusion, I guess you could call it fusion Japanese cafe.
Oh, yum.
Like Japanese style burgers, frittatas,
fritters. So what would you order? What's your favorite item to order on the menu?
I'd have to say it's the corn fritters.
Yeah, yum. Yum.
So crispy.
Oh, delicious. So that would be their corn tempura if it's a Japanese inspired cafe, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yum.
Okay, so from Victoria, based in Sydney, to Mariel, based in Manila. Over to you, Mariel.
Hello. Hi. Hello, everyone. I'm Mariel Garcia. I'm a visual artist, illustrator from the Philippines. And I love to illustrate and to paint, and currently having exhibitions around Manila.
Amazing.
And if I were to order... Yes. If I were to order something from a cafe, I would like a hot white chocolate.
Like okay. White chocolate, delicious.
I don't drink coffee, so
you don't drink coffee. Or how about to eat? You have a favorite dish?
Plain bread is.
Oh wow! Oh, that's cool. Cafe or white chocolate. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's awesome. And do you have a favorite chocolate brand over there in the Philippines?
My grandmother has a supplier in Batangas, the Tablea.
Tablea, and they do white chocolate tablea, or is it just a dark chocolate still?
It's different. It's a different thing. I like the white chocolate in Starbucks, but I also like the original tablea in Batangas.
Oh, wow.
Good.
Oh, you'll have to share more about that because we've got a forthcoming segment celebrating chocolate and cacao. So it would be really nice to actually hear your perspectives on the chocolate bean industry over there in the Philippines as well.
Okay. Thank you for your introduction. We might kick it off with maybe just checking in with you how, I mean, obviously Philippines and Australia, Sydney are quite different in terms of where they're at with, COVID. How are you staying positive at this time and taking care of your physical and mental well-being? Mariel, we might start with you this time.
For me, actually, I'm very, very guilty of this. I admit I overwork myself this
Yeah.
time because I don't want to think about the pandemic.
Mm,
Honestly, I don't know when this is gonna stop, and
yeah.
I don't know when's the vaccine.
Mm,
It's really, I'm very, very anxious about this.
yeah.
But at least I get to eat what I like, so
Yeah.
I'm so
Yeah. Well, definitely
it's okay.
stress eating has become our way of getting through it, as well as stress drinking. There's a lot more alcoholic consumption during this time. But
Yeah.
yeah, because yeah, it would be hard because obviously Melbourne has recently uplifted their restrictions, but for the longest time it was so hard for us to keep tabs on our friends like Victoria and the rest of the crew over there in Sydney about what you guys are up to, because it was so heartbreaking to see how there was, you know, that level of freedom that Sydney siders were experiencing, whereas Melbourne had gone through like 6 months worth of some version of lockdown here. But
The
we're
last
very,
lockdown was 110
yeah,
days, which is quite about 3 months worth, right? 3 months
yeah.
lockdown.
If anything, it kind of mirrored when Manila started their lockdown. It was pretty much comparative.
Yeah.
But very thankful that we're at the other side of it, but we're also very hopeful that Manila will continue to get that path as well, because we have family and friends that still reside in the Philippines, and it is heartbreaking to know that the way out of this pandemic is going to be a lot more difficult road for you guys over there in the Philippines.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you, Victoria?
I think I feel quite lucky because just before lockdown hit, I was in the Philippines and I got back maybe a couple of weeks before everything started shutting down and we
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
inside. And I have to admit, I was feeling pretty anxious at that time because the film industry shut down. So they sent hundreds and hundreds of people home. And I was thinking, wow, this is really serious.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
Is
also
this the height of the first lockdown? Was that around March time?
yeah, around March, April. I was also seeing the news and what was happening overseas, and especially like in the Philippines,
Yeah.
and just the uncertainty. And I think I had a bit of a slump maybe for 1 or 2 weeks.
Mm.
And then I realized we're going to be at home for a while, so I need to start like exercising. Movement really helps like mentally. Like sometimes I get into anxiety spiral.
Yeah.
And I think moving and exercising has been really key for me.
Are
Yeah.
you maintaining that even despite not being in lockdown?
Yeah, I think sometimes. I think I just have an anxious personality sometimes.
I'm a worry
Yeah.
bird. Like I worry about everything. Like, yeah, so
Yeah.
very similar. Yeah. But hopefully, you know, times will improve. I mean, it'll improve, and where Melbourne, of course, is a good testament to that. So it is difficult, and we empathise with what's happening in different parts of the world, particularly Philippines. But we are also hopeful that we can get to the other side as well. So, and yeah, Coffee CHIKAHAN has been one of our, as Grace mentioned before, has been one of our pivots in terms of maintaining that connection with community. So we're very pleased to have you guys here with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, and whilst lockdown is obviously sort of lifted over here in Melbourne, I think this has been the great gift that has kept on giving in terms of like keeping this as an opportunity to keep the connections going with our diasporic, you know, community. And so we're very thankful, Mariel, that during this time of uncertainty for you over there in the Philippines, you've made the time to connect with us. Because honestly, we have been fangirling the both of you guys for so long, and it's just beautiful that you guys are doing the same with each other, and that we finally had a space and time to actually connect with you both. So thank you so much for that intent and making the time for us. So, you know, Mariel and Victoria, you know, obviously you share the same surnames, but you aren't related. And at the start of the segment, we talked about the fact that, you know, you share more than that. It's also about the talents and the artistry that you both put out there in the world that aims to strengthen people's consciousness, the respect and love for the legacy of Filipino cultural history, tell us a little bit of your respective origin story and how has Filipino heritage played a role in your own journeys of self-discovery? Maybe start with yourself, Victoria.
Okay, I think I would say I grew up not fully disconnected from Filipino culture, but I wasn't really immersed either. So I had like a typical upbringing here in suburban Australia. And aside from the books that my mum brought me from the Philippines, and obviously if you've grown up in a Filipino family, you're going to have that exposure to the culture through that as well. But aside from that, school, art, music, it wasn't until I took like my first trip to the Philippines.
At what age?
I would have been maybe 5.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really get like that strong exposure.
Yeah. And then did you return to Philippines a few more times? Like, I mean, I did the same. Like my parents made sure that we returned to Philippines every few years to, you know, maintain that connection with, I guess, where we grew up and, you know, and so forth, and heritage culture. Did you return back a few times?
Yeah, I did. And those trips were so formative. Like I remember so much from those visits. Like some of those memories really were impactful.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the diaspora feel this way because you're going over there and you're seeing family that you haven't seen in years.
Yeah.
Seeing landscapes change.
Yeah. But do you always feel like it's home? Do you feel like home? Like although you grew up in Australia, I don't know, I feel the same. Like there's a sense of home when you return to Philippines. Seeing your relatives and whatever, but there is a sort of a, I don't know, like that, but I don't know, I can't describe the feeling, but you do feel like you are in amongst what you've, I don't know, like a sense of home. Do you feel that at all?
Yeah, definitely. But I think this is going to sound really cheesy, but home for me is the people you're around.
That's true.
So when I go back there,
that's what it is, right?
Yeah, you go
relative.
Family.
Yeah.
So in terms of your origin story, obviously you've sort of ventured into the arts world, which traditional migrant kids growing up in Australia, or migrant kids in general growing up in Australia, first gen as well, they're generally sort of deterred from exploring that artistic side of themselves. How did you navigate that, having been brought up in Australia with Filipino migrant parents? Were they the anomaly that actually sort of like really sort of supported you from the onset, or was there a bit of a transition process there in getting them to appreciate where your passions were?
I think I'd say there was a bit of a transition process. Like my parents have always been really supportive. When I started out, I was actually studying a double degree of education, so that was my fallback.
Okay.
And then after
a fallback career.
Yeah, after I went
covering all bases.
I did one practical with like little kids, like as a teacher.
Yeah.
And I realized like, wow, I don't have the life experience, or I can't command authority at my age to be able to do this. So I just pursued design and art 100%. And just being, I think my parents saw how proactive I was being, because I also got my first design job while I was at uni. So
amazing. Who was that with and what was that about?
It was a textile studio in Sydney. So we created textile print works that would be sold on to like labels.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Amazing to land that while you're studying, because often those opportunities don't come until, you know, at least until you finish. So
exactly. But once you show that your bank account starts getting some numbers, and
it validates the career,
validates it with our parents. That's for sure. That's when you showed like what I studied was worth it, because now I'm getting some dollars into my own respective bank account and not relying on you guys. So there was still, yes, it's good to know that was that was one of your sort of, I guess, pathways to getting acceptance from your parents as well. And how about you, Marielle? Like for us, obviously, you know, we share the commonality amongst the three of us that we're all kids that either migrated with our parents very young to Australia, but you're obviously of, you know, an artist that grew up in the Philippines and still in the Philippines, that obviously has gotten worldwide recognition through the various works that you've done. Tell us a little bit about your origin story. And most importantly, how it sort of ties into this amazing book that I am so lucky to be in possession of, as well as Victoria's in possession of as well. And I think that was like the catalyst for you starting to fangirl Miss Mariel, correct?
I'm gonna shout out to one of my best friends, Mariel.
Not Mariel Garcia, but so another Mariel.
I have to share the story because Mariel is one of my best friends, and she found Mariel Garcia's Instagram.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh my god, you have to check out this girl. She has like our names."
That's their names, right?
And I saw the cut in my book. I was like, "Oh my god, I saw this book. I have this book."
Yeah.
That just gave me goosebumps for a minute there.
It does. It does.
I don't know. It felt like someone was sort of like aligning stars there. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, what are the odds of finding someone with, you know, you and your best friend's first and last names together, and then sort of having that connection and around even your, you know, your creative outlets and
exactly.
skill sets.
My friend Mariel said, "Oh, Mariel Garcia looks like she could be our baby."
Yes.
Like we were like spliced together. It could.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that. You're going to have to share a photo of your bestie's friend.
Yeah, your bestie, and then put Mariel.
Yeah.
For finding Mariel's Instagram.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So Mariel, tell us more about your origin story. How did you get into illustration? How did you?
Way back in college, I'm a self-taught artist. In college, I took multimedia arts in Malayan. Now, it's Malayan before it's Mapua. Among my batchmates, I think I was the only one or one of the few who pursued the traditional arts like painting, illustrating. All of them are working under animation, film,
digital.
But my first job, I was an graphic artist in an Australian company. VMI. Yeah, I worked in an Australian company.
What company is that? Oh, that's really wow. Okay.
Velocity Made Good Incorporated. We make ads for groceries, Toyota, Nissan, sort of like that. Then I got into this illustrating industry because of my interest with plants.
With plants, okay.
Because when I was a kid, I have this little book of halamang gamot, which I found on my mother's things. So
halamang gamot means medicinal plants, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of find it interesting because it has a picture, a scientific name, English name, and other dialect.
Oh, in other dialects.
Oh, wow.
Do you still have that? Do you still have that?
Yeah, I still have it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, you don't have it on you now. I'll be,
Yeah. From then, I got interested in Philippine botanicals, like, the flowers. Then I get into Philippine birds, species, other species. Yeah, that's it.
Wow. It's amazing because Victoria, your artwork is very much about botanicals as well, and like some of the stuff that you've done that I've seen.
Yeah, that's why I'm fangirling to Victoria.
I love it. I love it.
And so then how did you... So Mariel, sorry, I was going to say, so then from there, how did that lead into working on Kain?
Working with Kain, back then I was 2018. I was applying for a position in National Museum. I
Okay.
really wanted to. I really wanted to be a botanical illustrator. So I
Right.
applied, but they said
Mm.
my qualifications are incomplete like that. So I got frustrated. So
Mm.
then months after that, I saw an email, RPD Publications, saying that, "Hi, this is for a possible project. Can you do something like this?"
Oh my
And
God.
Right.
yeah, then that
Wow.
email changed everything.
So
Wow.
guys, well, RPD
Yeah.
publication is an independent publication in the
Yes.
Philippines, right? Yeah. So, wow.
And
So,
they are the publishers of this Starting Now book for sure.
yeah,
Wow. So it all stemmed from it all stemmed from the Instagram, was it? Did they see
they
your
find
previous
you on
work that you?
Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just discovered me on Instagram and they emailed me.
Got
Then
to
Oh
tell
my
you,
there's
God.
Instagram
meeting.
has been
Oh my God. Instagram has been the most magical connection point to all of our various stories and friendships as well. Because
yeah,
without that, I don't know if we could have created the body or effect that we've been able to sort of promote as
and the
well. So,
reach as
Yeah.
well,
oh
right?
my gosh.
The world a little bit more closer, I guess. Yeah. Wow. So then, and then did that take, so then obviously you responded to that, and then was that like a quite an extensive process in terms of, getting you signed on as the official illustrator for the book?
They asked me to do a sample first, like 4 illustrations of Pinoy food. I did was kare-kare, pork chop, tinola, and bulalo.
Bulalo,
Then
really?
yeah.
Do you have the originals? I know you showed us last time that you have them,
Sir Rajiv kept the original ones.
but there's that, there it is.
Yeah,
Oh
So
my
that's the
God.
here is
final.
the kare kare.
That is
That's
so
like
cool.
how much varied was your original
To the
painting to
final,
this
yeah.
one?
Oh, how
Was it
much?
quite similar, or was it quite varied from the
No,
original?
it's very different from that.
Oh,
Wow. So it goes to show that the iteration of all the artwork that went into this, I would say 300, like 200-page book was very much iterations of the original that you would have come up and presented with RPD publishing.
Yeah.
and
Wow.
remind us again how many iterations that was.
They were like 384 illustrations for
Oh
Kain,
my gosh.
including the front cover illustrations.
Yeah, right. And you've kept all those, right?
Yeah, I
Amazing.
kept everything.
You
But
can, you can,
some were exhibited in Shangri-La, Manila during the
Shangri-La.
Mm-hmm.
launch, and
Okay.
some are exhibited in Singapore launch.
Okay. Because I mean, I don't know about you, but I love seeing the process in how the iterations come to be. So it's almost like, seeing sort of how things is the journey of that creativity, and not necessarily just seeing the final product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just as interesting as the final thing. So yeah. Did you enjoy it? Like for both of you in terms of the creative process, is there a certain sort of flow or approach that you guys take in terms of how you create your work? Because it's quite personal, right? It's sort of like I don't know. How about you, Victoria? Is there a process that you follow for your certain work, your work and projects?
I guess when I'm starting something new, I always start with a mood board.
Okay.
I sketch out ideas for,
Mhm.
like, I tend to view things as collections
Okay. Yeah. Nice. Yep.
at a time. Like, I like to have a holistic view of how things are gonna finish.
Yeah. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
You do that too, Marielle? You do a mood board?
But for me, I do have a ritual before starting a project. Like
Mm.
I clean the space, everything I clean.
Oh, wow.
Then then the ideas, the concepts just free flowing from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I've
It
seen
That's
some
how I
is.
artists as
work.
well have like they carry illustrators that they carry like a little notebook that they keep on them all the time. So any inspiration that they you know, that come to them like they draw it in that book, and that's
Yeah,
kind of,
I do that also with my
you do that as well. Do you have a
yeah,
book too, Victoria, like a little
with
scrapbook or something?
my
There it is.
sketches.
Like I never finish filling them in.
Yeah, yeah, but that's part of your, that's part of your creative process, I suppose, right? Because you don't know where you can find inspiration. You might be doing something and an inspiration comes. Does it come to you naturally, or you have to be doing something specific for that inspiration?
It's from observation.
Sorry. So, Victoria?
I take a lot of photos when I'm
Oh, photos. Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
something when I'm out.
And Mariel, how about you?
Sometimes, when the project is out of my interest, I do intensive research about it.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So for Kain now, obviously Filipinos are well regarded for loving to eat. Did you need to have intentional research, or was it more you like thinking, oh, what are my favorite dishes? What am I going to sort of like?
I actually printed all of the list, including the descriptions, and posted in the walls.
Yeah.
Did you have to try and sample all the dishes to get inspired?
My mom
That would be good.
chooses every day what to cook. Okay, what's the ulam for today? Let's choose.
Oh, that you made it almost like a menu.
Yeah.
You say?
Oh, so basically your mum would actually create the real life version of the dish so that you could translate it into the watercolors that you have on the pages of the book. Wow. And oh my gosh, that's amazing research. I would definitely sort of sign up for that. That's for sure.
I put my hand up too. Yeah, yeah.
I know. So was there because obviously the book itself is quite varied in terms of what it actually captures in terms of the type of dishes. There are some that we'll know traditionally, like binuguan, which is kind of one that not every Filipino would jump at eating. Were there certain dishes that were a revelation to you to say, oh my God, I didn't realize Filipino food had that dish? And were there certain dishes where it's like, you know, the version of the balot that you actually sort of illustrated on it? Did you feel like, oh, I don't know if I want to actually even try it? Or was that part and parcel of all your paboritong, you know, ulams and foods that you love anyways? How was that process like?
Actually, I eat everything, so I don't.
Oh,
easy.
That's good. That's so good.
Yeah, that's why it's not hard for me.
Yeah, but there were a lot of regional dishes there that a traditional person, like a person that lives in Luzon, wouldn't necessarily have as much of a appreciation or grasp of. So how did you actually, I guess, you know, improve your understanding of regional dishes so that you could do justice to it in your illustrations in the book? And I think that has,
just like the dishes from Mindanao, the one, they have a dinuguan version in Mindanao. It's there. It's tidula itim. They call it like that.
Yeah.
It has no blood, but to darken it, they use a burnt coconut leaf to darken it.
So similar to what Kathy Capio sort of demonstrated on one of our In My Cocina segment. The itim or the itum is what she sort of referenced. Yeah, itum,
Yeah, that's.
Did you get to taste that, or did you just get visuals or
I just get visuals from Sir Brian's book. I saw
that would be good to taste. Oh well, that's not there, you know, at some point.
Exactly. Well, you did bring up some of the co-authors that were part of Kain Na, Brian Coe, as well as Miss Felice Santa Maria as well, Prudente Santa Maria. Tell us how that experience was like, because both of which, you know, Miss Felice is probably like, you know, inaugural source of the history about Filipino cuisine. And then Brian being a Singaporean that grew up in a home that was sort of maintained by Filipina Yaya. How was that like, sort of like working with those two in the development of this book?
And different generations as well, right? So quite, yeah, I think, was that intentional to have sort of different generations represented in that book? You think? Okay.
But Victoria, like obviously you're also an owner of the book. What was the one thing that sort of like resonated with you when you actually sort of opened up the pages and so forth? As an artist and as well as a avid food eater as well.
I think I had just never seen all of these dishes compiled together like a compendium.
Mm-hmm.
You know, cooking and cuisine.
Mm.
So you have, I guess you have
The line was lost. I got lost.
We've got you back, Mariel. Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Something really appealing of it all being together the way it is with these beautiful illustrations and
yeah. It's so nice
Again,
to see the recipes and then you have sort of this art, this artwork that represents that food. It's kind of a different sort of element to it. You always want to just eat it and look at it. So
yeah.
like there's a sort of a lovely sort of thing around about that, having the recipe as well as having all this time, all this hours for you that you have invested in, creating that piece of artwork.
Yeah.
Can you share one unforgettable food moment or experience in your life? Mariel.
Food experience.
Or
I grew up in a family. Who loves to cook, and my family cooks very very good dishes, especially my mom. And honestly, I like eating at home rather outside.
Yeah.
And food is better when shared with family. So that's the best experience for me, eating with family.
I agree. Sure.
Are you guys based in, like, is your mum originally from Luzon? Are you from a different area, provincianos and stuff like that? What's your Filipino food heritage?
My mom was raised in Mindoro, but our origin is from Taal, Batangas.
Taal, Batangas.
Oh, beautiful.
I wanted to ask to share more about your family, Mariel. Because, obviously we had a pre-catch up before this one and she dropped some big knowledge nuggets during that conversation. Do you want to share with us, Mariel?
About my grandmother?
Yeah, your Lolas.
Yeah, my grandmother, which is Maria Ylagan Orosa. My grandfather Lauro is Maria Ylagan Orosa's nephew. So that's how we're related. And, I want to share a short introduction about her. Can I share?
Of course, yes, for sure.
Maria Ylagan Orosa was a war heroine in World War II. She was a teacher, a food chemist, a humanitarian, and her advocacy is to make every Filipino family self-sufficient in health, in food, and nutrition. So that's how she is, and that's it. She invented like the calamansi nip. It's like a powdered version of calamansi, which is used to make calamansi juice or alternative for lime. And she studied and discovered 24 flavors of wine from native fruits in the Philippines.
Yeah.
And especially the most famous, she invented banana ketchup.
Wow. Yes. Our reaction is a little bit more subdued than the first time you dropped that nugget because we're like, hang on, Maria Ylagan Rosa is your Lola. The matriarch that has pretty much been echoed in all conversations that we've had about banana ketchup with the Melbourne Food and Wine sort of team, as well as when we were lucky enough to have Chef Jordy and the Toyot team in Melbourne for some collabs. That was the one thing that they really emphasized in showcasing banana ketchup during one of our Melbourne Food and Wine masterclasses, was that Do you know that this was invented by a food scientist by the name of Ylagan Erosa? I was like, oh my gosh, that was the first time that that name came up, but it wasn't the last time that we delved into that deep research about who this woman was, because it is far-fetched from, the brands of Jufran and all the other banana ketchup, brands. It's not a story that's told front in mind when we do actually get our familiar banana ketchups and ready to sort of like use them as our condiment with our favorite salong and so forth.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's amazing.
It's phenomenal. Wow. What was I going to say? Yeah. So learning that Maria Orosa is your grandma. Grace and I have sort of, deep dived into, what kind of resources are available with her recipes. I think she wrote like 700 recipes, and I think there's a book about it, of those recipes, but I don't think it's accessible, like easily accessible. So one of the things that we would love to see is, potentially could RPD potentially produce, or print something like a book of her recipes and her stories. I mean, that would.
He's planning.
Yes.
Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah. So Victoria, over to you. Is there a food moment or experience in your life that's really made an impact on you?
What to say? Oh, I thought you just meant I have a food story.
Yeah, tell us. Yeah.
Share.
It's not a life-changing moment for me. It's just a funny story.
It's a food moment, memorable food moment, which is just as good.
You guys were talking about dinuguan.
Yeah.
And my mum, I think a lot of Filipino mothers like to do this. She reuses containers.
Oh, yeah.
Containers for every
Tupperware. That's our, makeshift Tupperware. That's for sure.
Store leftovers.
Yes.
And she used to buy this brand of ice cream called Nuts About Chocolate.
Ah, okay.
So it had milk and dark chocolate swirled into it with like little bits of, I don't know, like a chocolate crunch.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
This blue plastic container.
Oh my gosh.
And we always just had one in the freezer because that was just the brand that my mum bought.
Yeah.
We had a family friend. It might have been one of my aunts. We're always having family friends drop by. You make a big.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Some. And someone must have given my mum this dinuguan.
Yeah.
She didn't have anywhere to store it, so she put it in the ice cream container and put it in the freezer.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Father Pedro, he loves chocolate ice cream. So I'm thinking he must have gone into the freezer and seen the container and thought like, ooh, no one's opened it yet. Like, of Nuts About Chocolate. Legend has it that he got a big tablespoon and scooped out like a spoonful straight from the tub and ate it.
Oh my God.
You know the face you make when you're expecting to eat?
Yeah, something. And it's not quite that.
Anything wrong with dinuguan. Just expecting.
Yeah,
I get it.
Well, it's actually, that story is a great testament to how Filipinos used to introduce their kids to the whole notion of dinuguan, right? It's like, oh, it's just chocolate stew. It's chocolate flavored or chocolate looking stew, right? Just eat it and stuff. But yeah, like yours is literally, it was mistaken as something chocolate.
And literally had a label on.
Nuts About Chocolate, that's for sure. I know.
So did you? Yeah.
Do you feel like some Nuts About dinuguan?
Oh my gosh.
Forever joke, isn't it?
I know. But you had a story also about that, right, Mariel? Like when you were doing the illustration of the Dinogoan, didn't they keep on saying the color is not right? It's not dark enough. It's not black enough. Yours looks too much like chocolate. Is that what the variation as well as iteration of that dish was? The illustration.
What happened was the first dinuguan I illustrated was dark brown. And RP Sir Rajiv said, I traveled the whole Philippines and there's no dark brown dinuguan. Change it to black. Make it black.
Make it to black. But I think Victoria's story is testament that it is more chocolate than it is black, because I don't think you'd be scooping into an ice cream container of black-looking ice cream. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Brown. Dark brown.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh
so next time when you talk to Sir Sanjeev, you can actually let him know, I have a story to tell you. And this is what it was. Nuts about chocolate, and it was chocolate ice cream dinuguan, because it's more of the chocolate hue, that's for sure.
So Victoria, just wrapping that story up, did you guys end up just heating that chocolate, heating the dinuguan and just having it with rice?
I'd say my parents did. We were really young back then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh
dear. That's
but it didn't turn, was it your brother? Or was it your brother or another relative?
It was my older brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did it turn him off dinuguan forever, or is he open to sort of trying it out still?
I think he'd be open.
Yeah.
He's very health conscious, so I'm not even
Okay. Okay. Fair enough.
Okay.
Well, that was a great story. Thanks for sharing that. It made me laugh, and there was definitely that connection point still with Mariel's illustration experience on the dinuguan. So, I think for us, food has always been a gateway conversation to more deeper social issues that we encounter when we talk about food. When you celebrate food, you also have to think about all the other things that come alongside of it, like food insecurity and so forth. But I guess for us, food has always been that way to connect the dots to our advocacy efforts as an entrepreneur. A question for you, starting with you, Victoria. How have you brought together your advocacy and artistry efforts? And what does that mean to you as an artist to bring advocacy as part of that journey of creation?
I think before I started learning more about my roots and before I got into it, I don't know, how do I put this? I think a lot of artists prior to the shift that has happened are working in a space that they think is neutral. And by that, I mean, well, I think this really applies to diaspora, or if you're living in like a colonized country, the idea of what's neutral is really white. Like immersed in white culture your whole life. And some of the turning points for me came in my personal life. Like there's a lot of stories I could touch on, but basically I realized if we don't tell our stories and if we don't share our stories with our community in the wider world, who else is going to do it? Because these histories, these experiences, no one else out there is going to do it except us.
Yeah.
And the
more have different stories to tell as well, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like taking control of your own narrative as opposed to having someone else tell that story for you. And sometimes, whilst their intent might be good, it's, bastardsizing what needs to be told. And I think that's why the terminology of appropriation comes into play a lot, not only in the art world that you talk about, but also in the food world. That when we actually try to talk about other cultures' cuisine, if it's coming from a white lens, it can be misconstrued as being an appropriation of that cuisine and made to be, I guess, glorified or sort of like fusionized so that, the white palate can actually enjoy it rather than truly enjoying what dinuguan as an example is all about. And that is the celebration of head to tail farming and making sure nothing was ever gone to waste, that every part of that pig that was slaughtered was actually there to nourish the family that then consumed it. And that included the blood. And in a white lens, that can be deemed as almost the lens to which to view that dish with fear factor, like almost like, oh, this is a dish that you would coerce your friends to try. If you really wanted to be Filipino, go on, try the balot, or go on, try the dinuguan, prove that you are Filipino enough. So why does our cuisine have to actually sort of succumb to that white lens when itself on its own is beautiful to really tell a story of how rich and how creative and how sort of resourceful our culture and our peoples are all about as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes me think about the.
Oh, sorry, you go.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, it makes me think about the recipes that your Lola would have put together and created based on what was available in the land. And I guess, yeah, out of necessity, you know, creating sort of different recipes and dishes that could last longer, that didn't need refrigeration, that could be cooked on a palayok, that's not needing, you know, a kitchen that wasn't available for a lot of the women back in the war period, right, Mariel? Like, so, like some.
But I guess, Victoria, like before we go back to like Mariel's story of the palayok and her lolas, how did you navigate that? Because the art world is a very exclusive club to be part of, and especially in Australia, which is obviously one where there's still some evolution on opening up those spaces to women of people of color. How did you navigate that personally?
Oh, tough question. I think I'm still in it. I'm still figuring it out. I read a really good book that I would recommend to everyone. It's called Coming Full Circle, the process of decolonization among Filipino Americans. So it is US centric, but basically it talks about the history of the Philippines, and this idea of coming full circle is coming back to indigenous beliefs in the Philippines and reconnecting with that part of our culture. And I think, oh yeah, I'm still navigating it. I can't come from a place where I have all the answers.
Yeah. But are you sort of sensing, and we're seeing it a little bit more, particularly during the last 6 months, I would say, you know, there is sort of this undercurrent of voices being heard a bit more, and more sort of platforms in which those voices can be heard. Are you seeing that in the art world as well?
Absolutely, I think so. And I think the internet has played a big role in that. So there's less gatekeepers. Anyone share their work on Instagram. You don't need a curator or someone above you to tell you like your work is worth sharing. You can find your communities,
Yeah.
story, find people through that way without having it be filtered through another institution or. And I think that's a really nice thing.
So democratizing sort of, I guess, access to artists and you
are making work, and the people viewing your work might not necessarily understand what it's about or where you're coming from, or have an idea of what your culture is or who you are or who you should be.
But probably enough to want to raise that curiosity and reach out to you and learn more about your stories, right? Yeah.
Especially for us, like I think the Philippines is so diverse. There's no one defining aesthetic or culture to the Philippines even. So I think even for Filipinos navigating that, it's hard.
Yeah, for sure.
But I guess, it's like, I think it's the embracing of our entire heritage living here in Australia, where, you know, we came here thinking that we weren't Australian enough, we weren't Filipino enough. So how do you navigate that third culture? But I think we're now in that state of being where it's embracing the whole of self and not sort of bifurcating that when I go to the professional world, I'm more Australian than I am Filipino. that, or when I'm at home, I'm more Filipino than I'm Australian. Is trying to find that amalgamation of all those identities and doing it in a way that it actually feels empowering as opposed to one that you're shying away from.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I love that story of how you got discovered, Victoria, when it comes to Marvel, one of the most, amazing comic, amazing sort of production houses, came across your work to then sort of inspire what will become the costume of the first Asian superhero in the Marvel movie. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that process came to be?
I can't talk too much about the production, or I also don't want to take credit for the costume design. The costumes were designed by a woman named Kim Barrett.
Mm-hmm.
When I work in film, I work as a textile designer, and I help the costume designer realize some of the fabrics and prints that will go onto the costume. And this just came about from following my natural interests. I never go into anything with like a plan. I didn't plan to. I just really loved fashion and art, and I think those two things come together naturally in costume.
Yeah.
That's fabulous.
Well, when about your upcoming project, but I wanted to ask first Mariel about, I guess, a similar question that we were talking about with regards to
advocacy and artistry.
Yeah. Mariel, how do you connect sort of your artistry and your creativity with advocacy around even, even the Philippine botanicals and whatever and so forth? There's a bit of research in that, but how do you do that? How do you consolidate it?
As I walk this artistic journey, I meet people, I meet mentors, I meet clients, which gives me project close to my advocacy. So it gives me that concretized feeling that you solidify what your advocacy is. And for example, Miss Felice, I didn't know she was the author of Kain when I was doing the project.
Yeah.
And when we first met each other, we easily get along because we have the same interest. So Miss Felice helped me a lot with the knowledge, with the learning.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And it's a testament to the intergenerational learnings that you can achieve, right? So we mentioned earlier before you dropped off briefly that Miss Felice Presente Santa Maria, she's, she's obviously a little bit more senior in her experience in the food journalism and writing world. And then you have the likes of Brian Coe, who is Singaporean heritage, but obviously drew a connection to the Filipino food scene by virtue of his own upbringing, being under the care and love of a Filipina yaya. So how was that like as a, working intercultural as well as intergenerational with those co-authors of this beautiful book? What was that like for you?
It was a dream. Actually, it's not hard working with them because Sir Brian feels like, when a Filipino is a Filipino, you feel like that. Sir Brian is like that. He's
like you know him, you know him from the onset,
connection, yeah. How long was the actual production of that book? Like, how long did you guys work together? Was there sort of from start to end?
Sir Rajiv said they've been working the book since 2018 April, but they haven't found an illustrator yet. So they found me like October 2018. So that's November. The timetable was November to May 2019. So almost 9 months or 8 months.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And then officially launched last year? Late last year? What's it?
Yeah, it was August. August 2019.
2019. Yeah. 2019 was a big year. That's when we launched our food and wine events as well. So good year.
Yes. Let's forget about 2020, but 2019 is
2020
one to
actually has been, yeah.
It has for sure. I don't discount it because it's given us the opportunity to pivot or peer away into areas that we otherwise wouldn't have had the time as well as mental space to do. And this is an example of it, the fact that we can do coffee and chikahan together across the various time zones and everything else.
Yeah. Okay, so I might just ask one question before we do a fun lightning round, I think. Grace, what do you think?
Yeah, sounds good.
So what would be your dream project and why? Or have you experienced it already? Victoria.
I've had a few projects happen that I never thought would be possible. Some of the public installations I've done, collaborations. But my dream project would be probably just to have a really well-equipped studio and have free reign to just make the resources and the time to just make things.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
That would be amazing, yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, dreams can come true. And you have a really cute studio there, so you could potentially extend that or somehow, yeah, can happen. How about you, Mariel? Do you have a dream project or, I mean, Kain is pretty amazing, but I know that you're working on a few other amazing initiatives as well, but is there a dream project that you'd really love to do?
Yeah, you're right. Kain is a dream project, but syempre I wanted like medicinal plant book in the future. And also just like Victoria, I would like a studio, a bigger studio, so I can work on bigger canvases for my exhibit. It's a dream project for myself.
That would be
Oh,
amazing.
wow.
Some more upcoming projects from digital brands as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that book sounds fabulous. I think that would be amazing. I can already imagine a farm growing the herbs and then a kitchen or a restaurant, using it in their menu. And we can, with a studio in the back, I don't know.
I know, it would be such a dream to sort of do what Pelissa Anderson has done with Boon Luck Farms in New South Wales, and that is to bring some of those botanicals that are well used in Thai cooking and actually sort of create her own sort of urban farm or regional farm that actually really showcase that type of plants and sort of then have that as being the main source of all her greens that she then uses in her Thai dishes at Boon Luck Cafe. Yeah. How an amazing dream would that be, just to see the circularity of that in Australia and us, Filipinos actually driving that effort forward. So it'd be so amazing for us as well.
Never say never.
Never say never, that's for sure.
All right. Should we finish off with a fun lightning round, Grace?
Yeah, sounds good. You want to kick this one off?
Oh, do you want to give it I always do this one. Do you want to give it a
go? All right, we'll do fun lightning round. So just to sort of preface it, it's just a this and a that. Yeah. So we'll give you two options. Whatever comes in your mind first, you say that's the one that you preference the most.
Yeah.
So is kicking it off with the theme of food. So adobo or sinigang?
Sinigang.
Adobo.
Adobo, okay. So what kind of sinigang or adobo is your preference?
Oh, I don't like my sinigang spicy.
Spicy, yeah.
No spicy, not spicy.
Not spicy, okay. And then how about you, Mariel?
I like
what kind of adobo? Pork adobo.
Sweet adobo.
The sweet adobo, okay.
Rather than vinegary. So more on the sweet side than vinegary. I like. Okay, so for the love of pork in the Filipino diaspora as well as at home, lechon or crispy pata?
Lechon.
Lechon.
Lechon then? Okay, cool. Champorado or taho?
Champorado.
Taho.
Oh, wow, okay. Do you do all the fixings, Victoria, with the diles and the evaporated milk and stuff?
Yes.
You do all of that?
My mum makes it. I actually don't know how to make it, but I would love to. No.
Oh, love. Oh.
You should try
Okay.
ube champurrado. It's nice.
Oh
is
my
it?
God.
Ube champurrado. Wow.
Really?
That's cool.
You'll
So
have to
kind of
share
like,
a recipe, Mariel. Do you make it?
No.
Your mom makes it? Oh, yeah. Okay.
oh, love. Oh, that's cool.
Sounds amazing.
So long silog or tap silog?
Tapsilog.
How about you, Victoria? Long silog or tap silog?
I think we said it at the same time. I said long silog.
Oh, you
Oh,
did long
long silog.
silog. Okay, cool.
Tapsilog is the original silog.
Oh,
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, even before silog, the sinangag and itlog. It was
Oh,
even
no.
before that.
No. It's with the protein addition is.
Ah, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that one.
Mm.
Kamayan or fork and spoon?
Fork and
Fork
spoon.
and spoon.
Oh, I guess also now, I guess for everyone being a bit more hesitant about using their hands.
Except for if there's seafood. You know, crab.
Yeah, it's very hard
Yeah.
to know, right? With fork and spoon with seafood. Although I
For
could do that
sure.
with prawns if it's big enough with fork and spoon. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so old photograph or a handwritten letter?
Ooh.
Photograph.
Yeah, photograph.
Photograph. Oh, wow. Do you still have old photographs of your respective matriarchs of your family?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're amazing when you go back in time to see how,
Yeah.
you morph into your Lolas or you morph into your parents because you've seen this photograph and
Like
you
a
see
window
your
into another
reflection.
world, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And Victoria, in your research with regards to fashion, I mean, there would be so many sort of amazing photography around that, right? We've got some books in around that.
Yeah, lots of fantastic books. Actually, can I share something with you guys real quick?
Yes.
Here's a photo of my Lola, and it's inspired.
Oh, wow.
I saw this photo and I just loved what she was wearing, and I had the idea to do this book of paper dolls from this.
Oh my God, that's gorgeous. I
Are you
love
doing
that.
a very similar dress in that paper doll, the book that you're going to do? Very similar?
Yes, there are a few that are similar dressed to that.
Oh
That's
gosh,
amazing.
that's
Looking forward to
gorgeous.
that. Mhm.
I love it. And then 80s or OPM music?
Ooh, 80s in general.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
could be 80s in general, or what does old OPM, old Pinoy music?
Original.
It's original Pinoy music. Is that OPM?
Is it Mari?
Yeah, OPM.
OPM?
Filipino.
I love
Papelita
OPM.
Boyfriend, Cinderella.
Oh, can you sing us?
Cinderella? That's not OPM.
Can you
That's
sing
just-
us a few bars of OPM music? What's your favorite?
Who's,
So I
okay,
guess-
no, shout out some names that or singers, artists that you follow that you like. OPM. Any?
Old or new?
Oh, could be both. It's okay.
Could be old and new.
I feel like when you say OPM, I instantly think power ballad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Broad. I'd probably say Eraserheads. I've always.
I love Eraserheads. Yeah.
Yep.
Who else do I think of? I think of Regine Velasquez.
I've
Yes.
got Regine CDs. Yeah.
Songbird.
Yeah.
And Aria Rivera for me. And then at this time of the year, Jose Marichan for all of his Christmas ballads that come into play.
Do you know Jose Marichan and Mariel? Yeah. Or is he?
I know my son's
Suffer with my heart.
I like.
Oh, yeah.
Quite classics
The-
there. If you
Love me.
like you tell. Yeah. Okay.
Well, that video is so
Yeah, I collect like vinyl play.
Oh, that's so good. That is so good.
So who have you got on your in your OPM collection?
the OPM vinyl is so mahal. It's so expensive.
Oh, really?
I
Yeah.
just listen to Spotify. I listen to Supagita, Cinderella, and Boyfriend. Like 70s
Okay.
or 60s.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. I need to add them on my listing. That's for sure.
As in the Sampaguita singers? Is that them? Who's that?
Mm,
No?
no, ata.
Oh my God, I so don't know. But there is some Sampaguita singers, like a choir, and they sing those really sort of
No,
folk
that's not
songs
them.
that my
It's
parents
different.
listen to. Yeah. Well, definitely
Awesome.
LPs are very collector's items now, right?
They
Okay,
are.
last one, Grace.
Karaoke or TikTok.
Karaoke.
Okay, cool.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
we're
say,
the same.
how about you, Victoria?
Karaoke.
Karaoke. Okay, we should have a karaoke session then. You guys
Oh, we should.
you like singing?
I'm not a great singer, but I will participate.
Well,
we all think we're great singers. It's okay, Victoria. Like, you know, we're Filipinos, so
yeah, exactly. Well, the great thing is that the borders are going to be lifted between New South Wales and Victoria very shortly. And
That's
we've already invited Victoria to come visit us in Melbourne, along with one of her good friends, Yvonne Lamb, to come enjoy some of our Melbourne restaurants. So keep us posted when that happens. But yeah, like this has been a fabulous way to close out the work week, that's for sure. You know, powered up with some whiskey, which is now done.
Done.
Thanks so much for turning this coffee in CHIKAHAN into cocktails in CHIKAHAN.
Yeah.
And I do really sort of appreciate all your generosity of time, talent, and experiences, and sharing it with us and the barrio as well.
Yeah. So thank you again for Victoria and Mariel for joining us today. We've really thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. Wish we can talk to you longer, but I'm sure that our paths will cross again, and we hope to reconnect at some point. Mariel, hopefully you can come down for a tour for Kain, hopefully.
Yes.
We're working on it. Hopefully it can happen.
So thank you again, Victoria and Mariel. Do you guys have any sort of last minute sort of words before we close off?
Now is a great time to tell your stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
That are out there, the better. So like support each other, because the more representation we have, it benefits everyone. So
Absolutely.
everyone that has creative output, now's a great time.
For sure. Great message. You, Mariel, anything?
I just want to thank everyone for having me here.
And yeah, we're just so thankful that you are an epitome of the youthful revolt and the youthful sort of like the future that we have. So we're so thankful that the future is bright, knowing that you guys are leading the charge after we've
What are you going to say, Grace, until we're long gone?
I don't know. Yeah. No, but I'm just like definitely at this time when the future feels a little bit sort of uncertain, the future is bright knowing that you guys are leading the charge. So I'm so thankful for that. And we're so thankful that you guys continue to sort of be part of the journeys that we're creating ourselves as well as the entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So on that note, we wish you well, and wherever you may be in the world listening to us, stay very healthy, hopeful, and most importantly, happy for what's to come next. So thanks again, everyone.